base, the base, the base. It's the phrase we're hearing in every analysis of which voters, candidates should give attention. It's the core target audience that has to be satisfied if you want to win an election. So what happens if you're not a member of someone or some party's base? In reality, your interests rarely matter. Today, our panelists talk about becoming a first-generation voter base. Hello, Suncoast. I'm Renee James Gilmore. Welcome to Black Almanac. Welcome. Thank you so much. We have three wonderful panelists with us today, and we're going to start by introducing Mr. Liam Ordonez. Congratulations on earning, I should say, not winning, but earning the NAACP's Rising Star Award this year. And thank you, Ms. Rudd, for joining us also from Riverview High School, an international baccalaureate student and a very accomplished young woman. Thank you. And Dr. Miller, like many of our guests, you wear so many hats because you have such great talents. Normally you are here doing political analysis for us, but thank you for joining us in one of your other important roles, which is a professor of American government at St. Pete College. So yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. So let's get started. We're going to be talking today about the importance of voting, getting involved, and you all are at the very forefront of that. What we do know is this: there are so few people in terms of the percentage of young people who are exercising their right to vote, and I know that you all are doing a lot to impact that. Mr. Ordonez, in addition to being the Rising Star, you have so many other active engagements that you're working on. Tell us a little bit about what else you're involved in.
So I'm actually involved in several school organizations, but I truly believe that you shouldn't be involved just in your school. You should be involved also in your community outside of your school, because your school is not just your community. It should be like more of a broad perspective. And
that's how you won the Rising Star Award.
Yes, ma'am. Right? Yeah, so I got it because of the Y Achievers program with the YMCA. But I'm also involved in several organizations, and I work for several nonprofits such as JFCS and Unidos Now.
And Jewish Children's Family Services?
Yes, ma'am. We work under the Healthy Family, Healthy Children's branch.
Wonderful, wonderful. Lots of things going on. And Ms. Rudd, you have a list of accomplishments. I often look at these kinds of resumes that you all have at this age, and I say, where do you find time and why do you choose to do the things that you do? Because you could be sitting back, personal entertainment, going out to, just entertain yourselves, but you're actively engaged for what reason? What's motivating you?
So at the age of 5, I was actually diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and it changed my life. But something I always promised myself that I would not let it define me or defeat me. So I brought it to the forefront of everything I put forth in my community and asked people to help me. And so then I actually traveled to Washington, D.C. at the age of 11 and found my voice advocating to members of Congress and members of the Senate. And from there I found my passion for government and passion for the United States, and we should use our voice, and I'm there for people who don't think they can use their voice, and act as a role model, and try to influence them to use their voice in their community as well.
And you, Mr. Ordonez, why did you choose to become active when you could be just entertaining yourself, watching television at home?
So mine is actually also my voice. Like, I feel like I want to be representing like my culture and my background, because I come from a Colombian background, a first generation. So I feel like through engagement, I have been able to open my world to several perspectives in which I can take in for my education, because it's not also like helping others, but it's also helping myself mature as a person.
Tell us about your story. You're from Colombia.
Yes.
First generation, now Latino American.
So my parents are Colombian, and I was born in New York in Queens. So we moved when I was I think 4. And I've lived here ever since. I used to live in Northport, but now I live in Sarasota, and I've been going to the public schools in Sarasota ever since.
And your family in Colombia?
Yes. So my they all live in Colombia, and as you can tell from the news, it's not the best country with the most opportunities. So every time I have the opportunity to go to Colombia every single summer and see my friends, several friends there, and it's just sad to see how the education, and we're so lucky to live in a country where education is given to everyone and everyone has the opportunity to succeed. And I think it's really important for us to you know, like grab that opportunity, engage in our community, and also give back because they're giving us this amazing opportunity that many kids don't have in like countries like Colombia.
I'm going to ask all of you, all three of you, why do you think this sense of people coming to this country is becoming problematic for so many individuals who we hear on the news about oftentimes, the fear factor?
I believe people aren't as educated as they should be. I feel like we have this fear factor that most people don't have anything to reason with. I think it's just something we put in each other from the media, and we end up making something bigger out of what we shouldn't be. And I think education is something that we really should work on to help, you know, people move towards the other side of the spectrum on that fact.
When you're on campus, on your own campuses, you at Riverview, you at Sarasota, Dr. Miller when you're at St. Pete College, what talk are you hearing when it comes to young people talking about immigration and folks coming here to the country?
Well, personally, being in the IB program, I'm surrounded by people. I'm very lucky. We have very large global perspectives from around people who do feel like, you know, education is something that we do need to have on this subject. So people do tend to stay open-minded, which is very awesome, but I know that's not the case in every situation, unfortunately.
Dr.
Well,
Miller?
I think that you have a lot of people who have not really had the opportunity to interface with other groups, that they have not had the opportunity to travel, for one thing. Most people travel within a circle of maybe 25 miles of their home, basically. And to interface with people who come from Colombia or from Mexico or from Afghanistan or from Denmark or what have you is a nuance. It's not really something that is part of their everyday life that they're involved with. And then you have an administration, a leader who talks about people coming from different countries who are criminals or rapists or also saying these different things, and it gins up fear people have because they don't know. They haven't been there, they don't know what the situation is. So just like you have these people who are coming in this caravan to the United States, they're running away from both poverty, gangs, violence, and they want to live a life just like everyone here wants to live. They want to get an education, they want the best for their children and what have you, and those particular things are important to people globally, okay? And if we're going to move forward as a country, if we're going to talk about being a part of the global community, we're going to have to learn and appreciate diversity and go ahead, instead of having a clenched fist, have an open hand to work with people who come from different places. That's key to having a better life.
You know, we hear so many times, you're a political analyst, you've joined us on the show a number of times, and we often talk about being informed, being educated. Now, when we watch anything that has to do with news, political news in particular, we hear the base, the base, the base. And the base obviously is the people who political candidates believe they should be listening to. I know that you two are working particularly on becoming the base of some group. If you were to become from 18 to 29, let's say, there's so few people who are represented in the voting base. But that's where things happen, when you become someone's base. Now, do you think we're at a point in time where, let's just say, in this state, either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party is beyond where you all would want to be? I see that there is a growth in independence, independent voters, but have we become such a diverse country now that it's good or bad, or is it appropriate to have just two particular parties? Do you think we've gone beyond that point and people are more individual now, individual thinkers?
I completely do agree with that. I think we're all, like, due to like America being so diverse and full of different like shades and different religions and just different everything, I think that most people, like, due to like all the racism that's happening in our country, they believe that, like, oh, let's like not go and let's just go as being independent, like, because they believe that like what they think like other people are not representing, so, or they're representing it the wrong way, and they want to represent themselves. So I think we should definitely open up to different perspectives.
I definitely agree. A global perspective and an open-minded perspective is something we prize ourselves in. Personally, myself, I mean, I feel like it's hard, you know, when you're talking to someone who doesn't have an open mind. And I feel like right now, as a growing community, that more people are becoming open-minded, and everyone has their choice to believe what they want. And I think it's just working together to achieve our goals is what we need to look forward to as well.
Yeah, and if I were to pick up on what Liam said earlier, coming to the United States and having the opportunity to get an education was a key element, and thinking about what's happening with his friends back in Colombia and not having that opportunity. If we're going to talk about going out and being a good global partner, we're going to have to go ahead and start helping people where they are. Like we used to, in terms of the Peace Corps, when John Kennedy came in, he established the Peace Corps so that they could go down and help people learn how to do different things from both a technical perspective and just being able to have water, to get wells that have water. So when we start talking about now, the United States, we should, in my opinion, we should be looking to go to these different countries like the Honduras, like the Guatemalas, like the different countries in this hemisphere, that we can have an open hand and say, look, we'll help you with these different things so your people can have a better quality of life where they are, right? That's being part of a good global partner. The other part of it is that we have a lady in the middle of the harbor that you said you grew up in Queens, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, in the middle of the harbor, there's a lady with a torch in her hands talking about, give me your tired, your poor. We've always been a welcoming country from people from all different backgrounds. And I'd like to see us continue down that road rather than say, you know, hey, we're closing the doors. We don't want to have anybody else come in here because we are an aging population. Take whatever position you want as far as Republican or Democrat is concerned. We are an aging population. Immigration is key to the growth of the United States. And if we close our borders and never have anybody else come in here, okay, we're not going to be as strong a country as we have been. There are other countries that are knocking on the door in terms of being number one economically is concerned, like China, like India, okay? But if we want to stay on top of that perch, we're going to have to go ahead and start being more welcoming to people, get more people in here, get them educated. Getting our people educated, because it's key that young people like this are involved in the political atmosphere, apparatus, to get that new thinking as far as working with when I grew up, we didn't have ATMs. We didn't have cell phones. These folks, this is their everyday thing. Mm-hmm. And even more so as they get older, they're going to be new developments and things. These are the people, and I'm so glad that they're doing what they're doing, that are going to be taking over for people like myself, okay? So I'm very happy about the fact that they're involved politically, because you don't usually find that with young people today.
You know, there are some states, Florida is one of them, that have begun to have programs where the supervisors of elections in counties are actually having programs working with students. Mm-hmm. And Ms. Rudd, I know you know something about that.
Yes, so I actually interviewed Ron Turner the first time when I went to Girls State. That was one of my requirements, and so we got to know each other, and they actually reached out to me when they were approaching our school about coming and educating all our students about registering to vote, pre-registering and registering children, and then also, or students I should say, and the process of voting. And I think one of our big problems with voting is people aren't educated on how to vote, because it is a lot more complicated than most people think. Some people think you can just go to a poll and register. You have, you know, your different districts of voting and your ballots as well. And so being an educated voter is something very important. And I feel like them, you know, Ron Turner going to every school has changed a lot of things, especially our involvement in my school. I've already seen people, you know, getting excited to vote and, you know, telling me all about their their way of voting and how they did it and asking me questions. And I feel like that is something so important that we're stepping in the right place for.
Tell us about Gen Z votes.
Yes, so actually this past summer, my junior year, a couple of my friends and I got together a program, a nonprofit that we wanted to get more people registered to vote, get more people engaged in our community. And so we went out and we actually got about, I think 300 to 400 people registered to vote, and pre-registered and registered. And we started a club at our school, and we're also working to move that to our entire district and hopefully over the state. And so it's been something awesome we've been working on, and a lot of people are becoming more interested. And so that's the step in the right direction we're looking for.
And through that, you've even been involved with government, if you will, because you're actually a registered nonprofit in the state of Florida. And I see that on the SunBiz site that your official office is actually on Constitution Boulevard.
Yes, so that we're working towards that. We're growing, and the more people that we're getting involved, it's just something so amazing. And we're starting to put together. We're going to people's houses. We're asking them, hey, you want to get involved? And it's just something expanding and something so exciting. And we're looking for new people because we're all seniors, and we're looking for someone to hand down the torch to. And so finding those people to advocate and go out there as well is really giving us hope for the future.
You're already involved. You said at 11 you were in Washington, D.C., essentially lobbying.
Yes.
Right? And you raised $250,000 towards one of your causes.
Yes,
the
for
juvenile
type 1 diabetes. Yes. So with that, I've seen firsthand the application now. I'm on life-saving equipment that I can actually sleep fully through the night, and it's totally changed my life. And it's just showing that advocacy does work, and advocacy and education, do play a role in my life, and I want them to play a role in everyone else's life and find their voice as well.
And Mr. Ordonez, can you give us an example of how being engaged has really changed your life?
So I actually have been engaged for many reasons, more through the many perspectives that I've gained from being engaged. I've seen a lot of stories. So all these families, for example, in JFCS, I see a lot of stories with families that really motivate me as a person, because I feel like they come with stories from their lives and different perspectives that you're just not aware of. It's so different from what you see in the news or from what people say, oh yes, I'm going out to help, but they don't really know what they're actually doing. They don't really see the actual, I get to see the actual change between these 13-week classes and how they came for the first week and how they ended up after the 13 weeks. So it's changed my life because I've been open-minded. So I did a summer program at Cornell University. So I was able to engage with people from all around the world. I saw people from different countries, people with different stories. So we would just sit in our lunchroom and talk about where we came from, how we got here. There was people that were running on scholarships, people that weren't. And it's just really cool to be in an environment where you're full and surrounded of just not people like you, people that are different. Because in the future, it's not going to be just surrounded by just Hispanics or just Latino Americans. It's going to be everyone, and I think we need to learn how to be respectful towards these people and how to understand them and how to speak to them correctly.
Is there a reason to be afraid of people that are different?
I don't believe so. I think, like we were talking about earlier, having an open mind is something that I've always wanted to go into a conversation with anyone, and that I believe is something that our next generation is obtaining, and I think that's something really hopeful for us. But you should never be scared. We're just people, and we're human, and yeah, we make mistakes, but we should go into something with a hopeful and open heart, for sure.
Did you all watch the debate, the gubernatorial debate between Ron DeSantis, the Republican running for office here in the state, and Andrew Gillum, who is the Democrat running for office? Did you watch the debate?
Yes,
we did.
Wonderful. And you watched it because?
We want to have an informed vote, Emma Bella said.
Yes, definitely.
Super important.
Unfortunately, I'm not 18 yet, but practicing the education is definitely important, and also encouraging others to do the same. It's something you can just turn on your TV, and I think that's the easiest way. Actually seeing the candidates speak for themselves and speak their mind is one of the best ways to educate yourself.
And I think it's really cool to be in since we live in such a technological world, I think it's really cool how like you can just text your like friends and be like, hey, are you watching it? Like, what do you think? And seeing like different perspectives, because it's not like not everyone's going to be like engaged fully. So like being able to like text them like, hey, like what do you think about like what he's saying, or like stuff like that. It's pretty
And is
neat.
that what typically kind of happens?
Yeah,
when
that's
you're
kind of
watching
like
these
our
things?
Gen Z type.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. See, that's how different things are.
Yeah.
Talking about texting each other while, you know. But the thing here is that it's great. I'm so glad to hear in terms of the different things that you guys are doing and informing yourselves about the political landscape, because it's very important not only to get registered, because people get registered and then don't vote. It's important to be an informed citizen, to know what is happening out there, so when you go into that voting booth, you can make an informed decision about who you're voting for. You know, you gotta, I sat with your father here talking about people as far as voting as to their best interests, or the issues that are most pertinent to them. To not necessarily sit there and just vote because somebody is a Republican or a Democrat or what have you. Know what is, be informed about what is happening. When I talk to my students, I talk to them about the fact that all the different things that happen with government affect your everyday lives. And if you're not informed about it, how can you make a cogent, intelligent decision about who to vote for? So I think it's outstanding what you guys are doing in terms of getting out there and informing people and letting them know about the process as far as getting registered to vote is concerned, and also having some knowledge and texting each other or whatever methods of communication that you're using to let them know about candidates and what is at stake in terms of the positions that these candidates are taking.
You know, during the debate, one of the questions that was asked of both candidates, Andrew as well as DeSantis, is the president a good role model for young people? Our rising star, your comment on that?
Okay, so I believe that there's two sides to this argument. So the first side, I would say that I think he's a very ambitious man. He's a very successful businessman, as we can all see. He's grown this empire. But then when it comes to like me as a person, I truly don't believe that me as a first generation Latino American, don't believe that he represents me. I feel like my role models are more cultured and more well-spoken. And sometimes the thing that he like wants to portray don't come out maybe the way he wants to. And that's when it comes and it's seen as racist, which in like this country is like a super like big thing. And I think that it should be a role model that knows how to speak to people that are from different cultures. And maybe he's living in a world where he hasn't experienced this, because maybe he's been stuck in this bubble where he's only seen people from like, you know, like his generation and people that have always been in his world. So that's.
Ms. Rudd?
Well, you know, as the presidential elect, I mean, he got there and we respect him for that. But I believe, you know, since he is taking things a lot different from, you know, our last president and many presidents before that were also in a different age, I believe sometimes he doesn't keep in mind that, you know, the United States is such a diverse country, and you know, we're built on ideals that have gotten us where we are today, and we have to keep that in mind, and so does he. And I believe, you know, some things he could say or some things he can do can be approached differently, but we also have to remember, you know, he is our president, and, you know, the next presidential election, if you disagree with that, we should go out there and vote, and, you know, keep an educated vote as well. So it is based on perspective, and I believe things could be done differently. So.
Okay. All right. Dr. Miller, you watched the election. Anything particular that struck you in terms of their comments, either one of the candidates, that talk about what our future could hold for people of this generation, the younger generation, the Gen Z generation? Well,
I think one of the big issues that, not just with that particular office as far as governor is concerned, but one of the big issues across this country is healthcare. And whether pre-existing conditions are going to affect as far as your health insurance skyrocketing or being able to have assistance where it is affordable. And the candidates talked about Medicaid, okay? And that for 800,000 Floridians, that's very important. So when you start talking about what's in your best interest, if you have a parent who has a pre-existing condition, you have a child who has a pre-existing condition, this election is very important to you because whatever's decided, that's what you're going to have to live with over the next 4 years or whatever amount of time these people are in office. So when Andrew started talking about wanting to bring, Andrew Gillum, the mayor of Tallahassee, wanted to bring in money that's sitting out there as far as Medicare is concerned, Medicaid, I'm sorry, is concerned. That's important because we have a lot of, and people don't know this, a lot of rural hospitals are suffering here in Manatee County and in Sarasota County as it relates to indigent people coming into the emergency room and have to now be treated, and who pays for that, okay? So when they started talking about those things, I thought it was very important, and I believe they will be having other debates, and people should pay really close attention to what really is an issue for them. Then they're informed and can go into the voting booth and make a decision based upon being educated about the candidates are concerned.
We've got only 1 minute left, so I want to ask you, Mr. Ordonez, as well as you, Ms. Rudd, what's your message to candidates in terms of why they should be listening to people in your age group?
I think they should, one, be informed, obviously, not just like what they see on TV, but also get the firsthand, like actually see the debates, actually see what these people have to say, because what's happening in like this world or in this country is that everything's being like turned into a way that they want to interpret it. So I think my advice would just be, don't listen to others and just listen to what what your heart wants and what your true passion is. That's my word of advice.
Thank you. And you, Ms. Rudd, if you were to be talking to candidates running for office, what would you tell them about why they should be listening to people in your age group?
Well, these people are, becoming, aware that their voice does matter. And we're going out there and telling them, hey, your vote counts. And the more that the population realizes it, the more that people are going to go out there and vote. And the candidates should be listening to us. They're representing us, I'm putting together town halls right now for candidates to come speak to students. Right now, 11% of us are voting, but that's going to be skyrocketing in the next few years. And so they do need to be listening just because we are who is putting them in office.
Well, thank you so very much for joining us. Thank you, Suncoast, for being with us today. And we will have you all to come back very soon. Dr. Miller, thank you for joining us again.
Everybody can make something, because I think everyone has a spark of creativity, and the reason that I have to keep making is because I don't think my life would be as fulfilling without it. If you make things yourself, that means you're not cowering in fear. You're out there taking chances. That, I think, is my way of saying I love you to the world. All right, now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
Florida's coral reefs are declining. Bad news for our oceans and marine life. Fortunately, you can help, and you don't have to dive, you just have to drive. When you purchase Moat's Protect Our Reefs license plate, $25 goes directly to Moat Marine Laboratory, whose research, restoration, and conservation programs are helping this precious natural resource thrive once again. So get your Moat Protect Our Reefs license plate today. You just might hold the key to saving Florida's reefs.
Get breaking news alerts focused on the Suncoast. Download the ABC7 News app.